Greg. Former President Trump will hold a press conference at 11 a.m. next Monday in Bedminster, New Jersey, to respond to the Georgia DA's 13-count indictment against him. Trump says, quote, there will be a complete exoneration. The leading GOP presidential candidate for 2024 will present what he calls a, quote, large, complex, detailed but irrefutable report on the presidential election fraud which took place in Georgia. A grand jury voted Monday night to charge Trump with 13 felony counts, including violating the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act. The former president posted on social media saying, based on the results of this conclusive report, all charges should be dropped against me and others. There will be a complete exoneration. 18 others were charged along with him. Joe Biden finally took time Tuesday to address the devastating Maui wildfires that destroyed the town of Lahaina and killed 106, with many more still missing.
My wife Jill and I are going to travel to Hawaii as soon as we can. That's what I've been talking to the governor about. I don't want to get in the way. I've been to too many disaster areas, but I want to go, make sure we got everything they need.
The fire is the deadliest the United States has seen in more than 100 years, with the damage estimated at more than $6 billion. Biden announced Monday that survivors of the fires would receive a one-time payment per household of $700. This brought harsh criticism after many pointed out U.S. aid to Ukraine is costing each American household roughly $900.
I am so sick of America last. I'm so sick of watching our own country fall by the wayside as politicians on both sides of the aisle waste our money on other countries.
2 years after the Biden administration's chaotic U.S. troop withdrawal in Afghanistan, the Taliban appears as strong as ever. The administration's promise to weaken the Taliban-run Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan after allowing them to take power has fallen flat. The Associated Press on Monday delivered a disappointing status report on Afghanistan, indicating the Taliban has an iron grip on the destabilized country. In March, a panel of experts convened by the United Nations High Commissioner on Human Rights said the Taliban had reversed 20 years of progress on women's rights in the 2 years since the Biden administration left the country to fend for itself. The UN said women throughout the country report feeling invisible, isolated, suffocated, and living in prison-like conditions. A number of states have declared themselves as so-called refuge states for those seeking sex alterations free from prosecution in the wake of an increasing number of child protection laws. According to a research paper published last month in the Journal of the American Medical Association, there are nearly 90,000 minors between the ages of 13 and 17 who live in some 20 states which limit access to so-called gender-affirming care. Refuge or sanctuary laws have been passed in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New York, to name a few. California Governor Gavin Newsom led the way for other states last fall, signing legislation to accommodate young children seeking sex change operations outside states with bans. But some clinics in Southern California now deal with wait times for initial consultations between 9 and 14 months. Mike?
Fiora, an interesting warning from one House Republican to Democrats after the latest Trump indictment. Pray for Plan A. Plan A, according to Republican Louisiana Representative Clay Higgins, is electing Trump for the third time, putting him back in the White House and saving our country, he told Fox News. But why is he advising Democrats to pray for this? Because of the danger of breeding contempt for the legal system, not really the former president. In a Western Journal op-ed, writer Joe Saunders points out that this latest indictment should seriously concern Democrats because with 4 indictments against Trump, it's becoming more and more clear to the American people that the Democrat Party is desperate to stop the strong leading GOP 2024 presidential candidate and are weaponizing the American justice system. Saunders warns that after Democrats have destroyed the country's institutions and the American people's faith in those institutions, their problems could be only beginning. Hunter Biden's legal defense team took a blow on Tuesday as his lead criminal defense attorney asked a federal judge to remove him from the case because he could now be called as a witness in future proceedings. Longtime Hunter Biden attorney Chris Clark has vigorously defended the president's son against tax and gun charges, which could head to trial after a plea agreement dissolved last month. Clark's filing referenced the Bar Association's witness advocate role as the reason he is unable to continue his representation of Hunter Biden. That rule bars lawyers from representing a client if they are likely to be called as a witness in the case. The defense team change comes only a few days, that is, after a federal prosecutor said they've reached an impasse on a plea deal related to tax offenses and a diversion agreement to resolve a gun possession charge. The withdrawal also comes 2 days after Attorney General Merrick Garland assigned special counsel status to Delaware U.S. Attorney David Weiss, expanding his authority to investigate Hunter Biden. Mr. Clark last week said he was confident that Hunter Biden won't face new criminal charges, even after Mr. Weiss was named special counsel, the Times reports. Greg.
A former top Senate Judiciary aide said newly appointed special counsel in the Hunter Biden case, David Weiss, is compromised. Garrett Ventry told Breitbart News Weiss should never have been appointed a special counsel because the sweetheart plea deal with blanket immunity for Hunter Biden proved Weiss was compromising, adding, quote, "I think what they, the DOJ, wanted Weiss as a special counsel is because they are controlling Weiss. He's proven to be someone who will protect the Biden family at all costs." Ventry also pointed out mainstream media keeps stressing Weiss was appointed U.S. attorney by former President Trump. However, the two Democrat senators from Delaware had blue slip privilege to pick a U.S. attorney for their state. They also have veto power over presidential appointments. Ventry emphasized Weiss was handpicked in a clear-cut example of the two-tiered justice system running amok in the United States. Right now, let's talk with political strategist and CEO of Mason Burrow Strategies, Victory News contributor Luke Ball. Luke, welcome to Victory News.
Thanks, Greg.
Now, skeptical eyes remain focused on the appointment of David Weiss as special counsel on the Hunter Biden investigation. So much of this appears to be so wrong. So what is keeping Republicans from some sort of formal objection to this?
Well, I hope they do object to it. Remember, we wanted a special counsel to look into Hunter Biden, but not this guy. The fact of the matter is, this is the same individual who gave the sweetheart deal to Hunter Biden that made the judge look at a federal prosecutor and ask like 5 different times, is there any precedent for this in the history of the United States? And they had to come back and say no. There's a couple things that people should be paying attention to here. Number one, I think that this could be used potentially as a way to stonewall the House of Representatives in their investigation into Hunter Biden and the Biden crime family. You had Senator Ron Johnson even bring this up a couple times during the Durham investigation. They had situations where they went to the FBI and the Department of Justice and asked them for information, and the cop-out was the FBI and DOJ would say there's an ongoing investigation. We are unable to give you information. So they're concerned about that. And number two, it's not legal. This does not follow the guidelines for appointing a special counsel. It should be somebody who is outside the government, who does not have an interest in what's going on, and certainly not the same guy who made the sweetheart deal that made a judge recoil.
Okay, so let me add to that the fact that Hunter's lead defense attorney has now pulled out. What does that mean for the whole process?
Well, it potentially means that he could be brought to testify, that he could be subpoenaed. Look, the further we go down this trail with Hunter Biden, I think the closer we get to answering some of the questions that Republicans raised. And folks like I also said, at the beginning, I was like, you know, we should not lurch to impeachment. We shouldn't jump to the conclusion that Joe Biden needs to be impeached or even that they should be investigated this rigorously. But every single step of the way, the House Republicans have come out with more and more information that leads directly to Hunter Biden, directly to Joe Biden, receipts that say, I am sitting here with my father, and if the money is not deposited, we want answers. So it seems as if it's increasingly leading to impeachment inquiries, increasingly leading to a more thorough investigation as to what Hunter Biden did and what Joe Biden knew.
Okay, Donald Trump's team seems confident that a Monday news conference will drop a detailed report that allegedly will exonerate the former president. Now, Luke, we've heard promises of good news so often before from so many different people. So what do you think will happen on Monday?
Well, I think the president will introduce compelling evidence of questions surrounding election integrity, but I also think that we should go to the meat of what he said would happen in that press conference, that he and others would be totally exonerated. They're trying to criminalize free speech in the United States of America. I hope that in addition to the election integrity issues, he also brings up the fact that the prosecutor who was going after him ran unopposed in the general election, didn't even have a Republican opponent, basically had to outflank her Democratic primary opponents in the primary, and then launched her campaign website just hours before the indictment came down, somehow released the grand jury indictments before the grand jury even voted on the indictments, and repeatedly has received 90% of her finances from out-of-state money related to this investigation, and basically running off of it that they were going to get Trump, just like DA Alvin Bragg and Letitia James has done. So I hope all of that is wrapped up in this press conference.